Hi folks, here we are with the third short little presentation based on a workshop that we did in 2018. So here's the first slide, and you can see a picture of me in the posture single whip from the Sun style Tai Chi form. Let's bring in our line of gravity. So there you go, straight down into the base of support, but slightly off center. Towards the right leg, isn't it? But still within the base of support. And as we said in previous videos, that's where we want it to be. Whether it's 1 foot or 2 feet on the ground, we always want that line falling through our base of support. Let's take that away and let's see how I organize my body. We talked about that last presentation, and here we are. These lines basically are representing the oppositions that I'm creating. I'm pushing, but also I'm pulling inward. If traditional kind of Chinese philosophy on yin yang has this dynamic of opposites always at play. So as much as I might be extending my arms outward, as you can see in the image, I'm also having a sense of being braced inward as well. This is really indicative of what Tai Chi is about, that each posture we pass through in our forms or in our practice, it ought to have this dynamic of tension at play. And that's represented classically with our yin-yang diagram, which fits rather nicely, I would say. So bear that in mind, that far from being a floppy, totally relaxed practice, Tai Chi requires us to hold these different tensions in mind. So a little reminder that we've been talking about the pelvis and the bridge that we create using the pelvis as the keystone. Both our legs are the respective foundations for that bridge, and the drive for our movements come from our legs upwards, and we're always working against gravity, which is driving us down. So think about drive coming up from the legs and being channeled by the pelvis. The pelvis is the connecting point of those 2 points of contact with the ground, our feet. Basic physics. And this is a nice illustration of that in motion. This is a photograph from 1870. It's of a Manchu archer. But it's interesting to note that the character for drawing a bow, as the chap in the image is doing, is also the same character that gets put together with our traditional name for the Qigong movements that we do, and they're called Dao Yin. And as you can see, the yin part of that title refers to drawing, pulling, guiding, or hollowing. And that's exactly what the chap in the image is doing. He's drawing a bow, and he's managing the dynamic tension of the bow and his body, and it's all channeled down into the ground through his feet, and then he's creating a base of support to do so. Anyone who's drawn a bow in real life will know just what a task it can be at first, until you build up this balance of strength and opposition to be able to hold that bow steady. So here's a little reminder. Dang Jing in the title there means bridge power. So Dang, if you remember, means bridge. Jin means power. We could translate that to basically mean a dynamic stance, one that is able to shift and move, and it's created by our feet, legs, and pelvis. Movement is driven by the feet and legs, As we've discussed before, the knees act like shock-absorbing elements in the system, and they can be gently flexed or they can be quite deeply flexed, all depending on the stance. And the pelvis carries and supports the torso and is the means by which that energy or power from the legs is being carried upwards into the movements of our hands and our arms. So I hope that is interesting. I hope that gives you an insight, which is why we place an emphasis on growing up from the feet and having a firm connection with the ground or the earth. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye. There's a lot more embedded within classical Chinese philosophy of this sense of always making the earth our reference point. But we'll talk about that again in another presentation and also in our classes. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that enjoyable, and we'll see you next time in our next class. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.